Welcome back to Midpoint. The senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, joining us for another segment. We just had some breaking news come in the newsroom. President Obama just announced additional sanctions against North Korea in the wake of the cyber attack on Sony. Now, the new sanctions target 3 entities, including the country's primary intelligence organization and 10 individuals inside the North Korean government. Do you think this was a necessary step given the attack, or is this more of a political statement from the White House?
I think, unfortunately, it's a political statement. You cannot actually do anything against the North Koreans without involving the Chinese. The North Koreans are, for better or for worse, a client state of China. And so I'm sure that President Obama wants to get at North Korea while there's controversy and some level of I think, not enough clarity to figure out how the North Koreans did it, or if they worked with certain Sony insiders, which I believe that's probably true. We've got to get a better picture of exactly who we're going to go after and what the expectations are. The North Koreans are essentially one of the largest mafias on the planet. They do a lot of things illegally to make money. They don't really have any exportable goods. They don't really have an income based on production or services. So it's important to understand that we need to go after them. But unfortunately, I don't think this is the right way to do it. I think we have to do this in concert with the Chinese in some form.
Yeah, at some point, people are questioning whether the North Koreans were really behind this, and there had been some recent information that maybe it was another entity, the FBI almost doubling down in this particular case with the president announcing these new sanctions. I want to switch gears real quick.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think the North Koreans were involved, but I do believe that the Chinese helped, and I do believe that they had huge amounts of insider information on where to target. So I'll leave it at that for now.
All right. Yeah, we're going to continue to follow that investigation as well. I want to get back to the Middle East. 2 Italian aid volunteers, Vanessa Marzullo and Greta Ramelli, both in their 20s, kidnapped in Syria late August. Now, the pair appeared in a 24-second video posted online on New Year's Eve titled Al-Nusra Front detains 2 Italian employees because of their government's participation in the coalition against it. Officials really worried about this, that the women may soon be traded to ISIS. Do you think we're going to see action from the Italian military? And if so, how will their response differ from the U.S.?
That's an excellent question. At this point, I honestly don't know. The Italians have not been confronted directly with this level of in-your-face prompting by Al-Nusra Front or ISIS. So this is going to be a new and distinctly different approach by the Italians. I'm not sure what they're going to do. With that said, it's very clear that Al-Nusra Front and ISIS have now formed some level of alliance. So the chances of them being traded, the women being traded to ISIS, are very good. And of course, if that happens, then all bets are off regarding what will happen to them. One of the biggest fears of the U.S. intelligence community is that ISIS is going to start beheading female hostages, which is clearly something that a lot of people would dread, and I think would bring the level of violence against the Westerners to a whole new level. I'd like to believe that the Italians will join in with the Jordanians and with the U.S. in looking at certain options to go about trying to figure out a way to get these women back. I don't believe we should be buying trading hostages back for funds, but I do believe we ought to be a lot more aggressive in trying to get to the bottom of either both protecting these people while they're there and going about trying to do special operations to get these folks back when at all possible.
And the imagery also kind of reinforces the fact that ISIS is really a worldwide problem. But back to your initial premise of the beheadings versus just basically enslaving these 2 young women. Just talk about that from a PR standpoint from ISIS and what they're trying to accomplish.
They're enslaving a lot of women. They've gone after the Yazidi. They've killed those Yazidi Christians who refuse to become essentially converted. So there's no doubt that ISIS will kill people. That is proven. The question becomes, obviously, how much of a point do they want to prove to the Italians that they're serious about essentially pushing back the Italians for their involvement? That's what the biggest concern here is. And obviously, the imagery of 2 Italian women being beheaded would be horrific. And I'd like to believe the Italians will do the right thing and stand up to try to fight ISIS with us. Because let me be clear on this, it ain't going to get any better. It's only going to get worse from here. And if ISIS goes down this path, They're going to continue to expand those who they take hostage and those who they behead. So we need to basically push back very hard on this to make sure that ISIS understands this is not acceptable. And like we talked about earlier, we have to be serious about defeating ISIS, not simply degrading it. As long as you only degrade it, you will see this sort of horrific potential imagery coming down the path towards us repeatedly.
And just about 10 seconds left. Will the Italians ask for
Sure.
United States help in this?
I honestly don't know. I'd like to believe they will, and if they ask for the help, I'd like to believe President Obama will approve it. Let's hope.
All right, a worldwide effort to try to defeat ISIS. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, retired. Thank you so much for all your insights on Midpoint today, right here on Newsmax TV. And when we return, the UN Arms Trade Treaty that went into effect last week. It has the United States signature, but it lacks Senate ratification. We'll take a look at that on the Friday edition of Midpoint.